graphic nature of this program, listener discretion is advised.
Deviants, welcome to show. I am the Clitoris, and I am here with
Ziguch
and the Devo Slock.
And we are the Social Deviants, who are here today to talk about a glorious film from our childhood, a vestige of our youth, a movie that was released February 4th, 1994, 25 years ago, and that is Ace Ventura, Pet Detective.
So are we all doing the podcast talking out of our assholes?
What is that?
Well, that's what he did. That's what he did.
I thought it was like, are we usually just doing that, talking out of our assholes? Isn't that just the on par for everything we do?
It's like every word you say, it's like bubbling up full, like you're bubbling in your chair. And like I said, it was released in 1994, so that's 25 years ago.
That's crazy.
It seems crazy. Yeah, it really does seem crazy. And
although, I mean, after
young.
watching it, it has aged pretty badly.
It's dated for sure.
It has. Yeah.
The movie was made for $15 million. And that's how much it cost. That was the budget, and it made $107 million worldwide.
Jesus.
So yeah, you're talking buku, and honestly, it really launched Jim Carrey's film career as a leading man.
Because was this his first movie after The Mask?
No, this is before The Mask.
This was before The Mask.
Oh, it was.
Yeah,
I thought The Mask was like his first movie.
Yeah, I was.
No. Earth Girls Aren't Easy.
No,
that was his first. Like,
no,
it's not his actual first film, but that was like one of the first ones people remember him from.
Oh, okay.
Because his first film was like One's Bitten or something, I believe.
Oh, that's right. Where he's a vampire.
He's a vampire. I believe that one came out first.
Damn! I forgot about that.
I mean, he's got like actually, there's a couple like credits that he has like even before that, like from 1983. Once Bitten was from 1985. He did like Peggy Sue Got Married, Pink Cadillac. And then after he did Ace Ventura, he went on like a huge tear. He was like The Mask, Dumb and Dumber, Batman Forever, Ace Ventura, the sequel, Cable Guy, Liar Liar, Truman Show.
Well, that was because that was like what 94 to what 99. Yeah, see, that's Man on the Moon 99. That's actually a pretty good film too.
Yeah, and that was like the really one that kind of and then he like,
made him go crazy.
Yeah, a little bit,
Me, Myself, and Irene.
But he still had some other big hits after that. Like The Majestic. He had like Bruce Almighty, Eternal Sunshine, Lemony Snicket. So he did do some movies, obviously. So I wanted to start this off by saying that like one of the cruxes of, and so this historically this film, like, do you guys remember like okay, so obviously he was in Living Color before this, right? And that's kind of what they used to, that's like the thing that helped him get discovered, and they made this movie. Do you guys remember like the build up to this movie? Because I do distinctly remember watching In Living Color and being like, oh, Jim Carrey is having his own movie. I got to see this movie. Did you guys have that same sort of build up to this?
I honestly don't remember.
Yeah, just outside of watching him on In Living Color, I don't remember. Like nowadays, you get all the trailers, and there's like with the internet, you're like, oh, so and so signed on to do this movie, and here's like the spoilers for this movie. Like I don't remember any of that stuff for Ace Ventura. I don't even remember it being out in the theaters. I remember my earliest recollection is watching it on VHS with my buddy before school.
Yeah.
Like
we were 12 when this came out. We're what? 13?
I think this was like I'm pretty sure it was
like 12.
Clinton 94.
12, yeah. So
February 4th, 94. So we weren't quite 13 yet.
Yeah, we weren't quite 13.
So it would have been on the cusp. It would have been before freshman year.
Yeah, we were like 8th grade. This was like our second half of 8th grade. So I remember watching. I must have seen a commercial for it because I watched MTV. I'm sure they had commercials on it, but it's not like, oh, it's Jim Carrey, cool, it's the name of the movie. But I didn't go to the theater to watch it. I'm like Devo. I'm like, oh, we watch it at on TV or something. Yeah, on videotape. We rented it.
Yeah.
The movie was PG-13, so we probably. We were probably quite old enough to go by ourselves. I don't think I saw it in the theater, but I do remember like waiting for it to come to VHS and trying to see it like really like right when it came out. And so I do remember like the lead up to it and everything. And I remember this was like a big movie when I was like, you're 12 years old. You want to see you know, Jim Carrey, because he was a wild character on In Living Color and had like, you know, Fire Marshal Bill and all these other kind of characters, you know. So I do remember this movie a lot. The one thing though that I found like right off the bat in the movie interesting is like obviously this movie is set around like the NFL, and like one of the characters it's based around this idea that they like kicked the game losing, like they missed a kick that would have won the Super Bowl, and it's based around the 1984 Dolphins, who did actually go to the Super Bowl, although the game took place in 1985. And they did play the San Francisco 49ers, but that game didn't come down to no field goal. The Niners, led by Joe Montana, Roger Craig, and Ronnie Lott. For anyone wondering, Jerry Rice was actually drafted in 1985, so he wasn't on that team. They beat the Dolphins 38-16.
They whooped the shit out of
them. They
them.
crushed them. And I think I believe that was Dan Marino's, I think that might have been his rookie season or his second year in the league.
Well, I think it wasn't that supposed to be like the Dan Marino's year where he won every single game and then they got crushed at the Super Bowl. Was it? I forgot. It was supposed to be Dan Marino's Super Bowl, and then they meet up with the Niners, and the Niners just made them look like children. Yeah.
And was that the Super Bowl at Stanford?
That's a good question. I'm looking it up right now.
I mean, not that it matters entirely, but yeah.
The other interesting thing about this is that they this idea that the whatchamacallit, that the person lost, that this person kicked the field goal and it went like wide right, wide left, right? That
laces out.
Yeah, the laces out thing. That actually is seemingly based off something that actually did happen, but it was Scott Norwood that kicked
Buffalo Bills. Yeah,
the Buffalo Bills, that they lost the game 2019, and he kicked a kick at time expired and missed it, and the Bills lost the Super Bowl. And then they went back the next 3 years and lost that too.
But it wasn't. It wasn't like a 26-yard field goal. It was a bit farther away, wasn't it, for Scott Norwood? Yeah. Yeah,
the game was at Sanford Stadium, by the way, Devo. I don't remember the length of that kick, but I know that that's kind of what they based it off of. So they took some liberties, and it was interesting because they actually must have obviously got the NFL's blessing, because the Dolphins were, you know, it was the Miami Dolphins, and there was a bunch of Dolphins players in there.
Yeah. And they showed that clip. It looked like a clip from that game, to be honest with you, but it was just like, you know, kind of doctored.
Yeah, it was definitely doctored for sure. Which I thought was interesting, because one of the other aspects of the film that it was like this undertone of the film was that they really touched on the head trauma that football players suffered, and like how it affected like their memory or the way that they acted. I thought that was interesting because this is 25 years ago. Yeah, there was a couple times.
Well, I mean, they were making a joke out of it.
They were making jokes of it. So that means it must have been a thing,
when Jim
right?
Carrey goes to the crazy at the movie.
Well, not only that, when what's her face?
Finkel?
The Finkel was, telling me, do you remember who I am? Do I look familiar? I'm like, look, Dan was like, look, lady, I get hit in the head a lot. He straight up said that to her. I'm like, damn, okay.
Yeah, it's weird, right? Now that we know everything that happened. Yeah. And I don't think that if that stuff was in a movie now, the NFL would probably be like, no, we're not.
Yeah, exactly. Like, no way. I don't think anyone would put it in there, to be honest with you.
Yeah. So I thought that was interesting. One of the things that the film has been criticized for is its portrayal of transgender character, and this is like one of the things that you find in like maybe like the Crying Game, where it's like you have this transgender character that's like there's this reveal in the movie, and there's this transgender character, and that character is somehow evil, somehow some killer, and you know, I think this plot device might not fly nowadays. What do you guys think?
Well, not just that, but like if you look at the reactions of everybody in the film when they find out who the character really is, like everybody's spitting out of their mouth, they're throwing up. Even when Jim Carrey realizes, you know, that when he made out with a dude, he's doing he's putting a whole tube of toothpaste in his mouth. He does the Crying Game thing where he's crying in the shower, burns his clothes. Like his reaction nowadays, like people would just lose their minds.
Not to mention that. I mean, they portrayed the Finkel as like this guy that's insane, and you know the only way you get back to her is like become a transgender, you know, become a woman.
That's nothing too.
And I was like, it's like, kind of saying that. Well, you kind of have to be crazy to become a woman.
Yeah.
If you're a man, or if you're a woman, you want to become a man type thing. And honestly, to be honest, I I mean, it's like Clint was saying, it's a plot device. It works. It worked for the movie in '94. You're absolutely
in '94,
right.
yeah.
I doubt it would work today in that manner.
Yeah, you also have this idea that that transgenders are inherently duplicitous.
Exactly.
Because this Finkel guy became a woman and didn't tell anyone, and then starts running around and kissing everyone and trying to do stuff with them. That's the way that transgender people behave. Yeah, that they're going to intentionally deceive someone
and be over sexualized and be over sexual. They throw themselves at people. It's one
which
of the
was odd because the moment they reveal that, the moment you realize that that's the case, she's just kissing everyone.
Yeah, exactly.
Grabbing their nuts and weird. It's just that was so odd. But I mean, it's a comedy, right? So you can't get too crazy about it.
No, I don't fault it, mind you, because it was a different era. I mean, people can look it through millennial eyes and say, oh, watch that. I'm like, dude, I mean, we grew up with this stuff. We had to learn to not, laugh at it, and it's hard for people like us. I mean, I'm going to say it. It was more difficult, but we learned from it, and I mean, I think the movie's funny. I mean, I could see its flaws, mind you. But I could see where, someone that's, was born in 2000 watches this film and they're like, oh, what's going on with this film,
All right, so last one before we get to the deviant casting director. Tom Shadyac, this was his directorial debut, and he directed a bunch of other known movies. Nutty Professor, Liar Liar, Bruce and Evan Almighty, and Patch Adams. So quite a few Jim Carrey movies and, a couple Robin Williams movie in there, Steve Carell, Eddie Murphy.
The first Nutty Professor, because that one was actually pretty good.
Yeah, I think so. I think he did. So, yeah, that's, this is an interesting film for him to debut in. So deviant casting director. So like I mentioned before, Jim Carrey got this role because the people that were developing the movie, Solomon and Living Color, wanted him to be in it. I don't think anyone else. Maybe there's some other guys that could have tried to do this type of role. Maybe an old version of this could have been maybe Steve Martin could have done some of this type of weird impersonation type action. Maybe Robin Williams could have done it. But do you think that that Jim Carrey, when this movie released, and then the tour that he went on, was the biggest comedian in the world at that time? Was the most popular comedian in the world?
Maybe young comedian. Because Robin Williams is still huge in the 90s, and
and then Eddie Murphy was still doing stuff during that time too, right?
It wasn't very good stuff. I think Jim Carrey stuff was way better than Eddie Murphy stuff.
Yeah,
but
you gotta think Dumb and Dumber, The Mask. He made a bunch of movies that are huge movies at the time.
Yeah,
even bigger than this one.
Yeah,
probably.
I think Dumb and Dumber is probably bigger than this one. I think it's a little bit better too.
Yeah.
So I thought that, given the fact that Jim Carrey's in the movie and he does all this stuff, I thought his clothing was very distinct. He improv'd a lot, obviously. Apparently he even helped with the script. He improv'd so much and helped with the script so much that he even got credited as one of the screenwriters for the movie. And his little weird movements, his impersonations are it's the thing of the movie that makes it classic.
Well, I mean, it's pretty much
that's all Jim Carrey.
Yeah, it's pretty much a bunch of stuff from his characters from Mind Living Color. It's all stuffed into this weirdo from that likes pets and stuff.
Do you guys think that? Can you think of any other comedian that does anything remotely like this anymore? Is comedy really like that now?
Oh, anymore?
Like the impersonations, the weird sounds, the goofiness, the over the top.
I'm sure there are, but out in the mainstream, I don't think
there really isn't anybody, right? It's more just being funny and yelling, or
yeah, and not maybe not this wild, because one thing that's I don't know why this popped in my head, but one of the first things that popped in my head was Chris Hemsworth from Ghostbusters. Yeah, because there's the whole scene where he's first introduced and he's doing the interview, watching some of the behind the scenes stuff. They had the basic idea and the basic premise of what they wanted that interview to go like, but they just let all the ladies and Chris just riff and they just improv the entire thing. So when he's sitting there and there's a loud sound and he closes his eyes and rubs his eyes, that wasn't in the script. That was all Chris. And all the things when all the girls are bouncing off of him and he's bouncing off of them, it's stuff like that. I think that's the kind of comedy that we're seeing nowadays, to where when you've got these sort of, I don't want to say comedic geniuses, but people that are amazing in comedy, and you just kind of let them flow.
Yeah.
Because you look at like even comparing to the old Ghostbusters, a lot of that stuff, like a lot of the classic stuff that everybody loves, was improvised. Same thing with Stripes. You know, Harold Ramis and Bill Murray both in Ghostbusters and Stripes. A lot of the stuff that people remember is improvised, and I think that's one reason why Ace Ventura, specifically this first one, is so memorable, because it's one thing to be able to write this stuff, but then as it's being acted out and as you're going through it, like Jim just takes over and he's like, this is what Ace does. This is who Ace is. He's going to say this stupid thing, you know, like when he and Courtney Cox are sitting there, you know, kind of flirting when he's going through the files, and he tells her the story about how he's got this dream, and then there's this rabid dog, and he's got foam all over his mouth, and he's running up to his door, and he finally gets to the door, but then the dog, you know, gets the back of his neck. He's like, look, you see a scar, and she leaves over, he's just like, and like, that's like, I don't think you can really write something like that. Like, I think that's like, I don't know, I could be totally off, but to me, that seems like a very Jim Carrey thing, you know?
If not improvised, at least Jim Carrey wrote it. You know what I mean? Like you said, I mean, that's definitely a Jim Carrey thing, a Jim Carrey trait. But I mean, going back to, I think comedians now, it's just, Jim Carrey, especially his early work, like, you know Ace Ventura and The Mask and Liar Liar and Dumb and Dumber. He's like, he is Jim Carrey from In Living Color, in most of those characters. You know, later on, you know, after the Truman Show, he became a more, you know, deep, I guess. I mean, I don't really.
Yeah,
he
took on more serious roles, like
he's an actor.
Spotlight or Sunshine
yeah,
Line or whatever.
Exactly. I mean, I kind of do miss the old Jim Carrey, but I don't know if he could come back and do it now. You know, because it's just an older.
I don't think
style.
he has the desire.
You know, he doesn't.
He's busy painting.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I mean, the paintings are actually pretty good, but.
He's a talented dude.
He is a talented dude, but I don't know. I mean, I think if anyone can be wacky and crazy and funny, I think Kate McKinnon can, but I don't know if she can be like, you know, Jim Carrey.
Yeah,
crazy, because I actually think she's as funny as he might be, but you know, just a different way.
Courtney Cox in this movie, wow.
Well, I mean, I did too. I mean, I like Courtney Cox.
She's really attractive in this movie.
I mean, I always like Courtney Cox, and I'm a Friends fan, so what can I say?
Yeah, this is post Masters of the Universe, but actually, I looked this up. This movie was released in February '94, like we mentioned, but Friends debuted in September of '94. So this movie actually came out right before Friends, like first debuted on television. Mm-hmm. So that was a pretty good year for her. Roger, the guy who was like the guy
Roger
that jumped
Predactor?
out. Yeah, that dude. I don't know if you guys remember this. The guy's name was like Troy something. He was in Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
Yeah, he was.
He's in that singing, look what you did to my wife. I love that. Look what you made me do. And the guy's like, I've been fucked over by so fuck you.
Now it's my turn.
Yeah. Which that guy has also been in a bunch of stuff too. That dude, the receptionist.
Yeah.
Wasn't he in that like some cop show, like some army cop show? Jag. I think it was in Jag.
He was also in True. Was it? What's the vampire show that was on HBO?
True Blood.
Yes, he was in True Blood. He was like one of the most.
He's also in a Hot Wet American Summer.
Yeah, he was. Oh no, he wasn't the guy from Jag, but he was in one of those shows,
like NYPD, Code Blue.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
But Roger got killed anyways. He jumped off the thing, or they threw him off. Tone Loc was in the movie.
Yeah, Tone Loc. Funky Kill Medina.
Okay, now let's Udo Kier's in the movie. You don't remember who he is, Devo? Yeah, Udo Kier.
He's this German.
Oh yeah.
So
he was in something else. What the hell was he?
He's in a bunch of stuff, dude.
Yeah.
I think he was in Blade.
The prototypical German.
You know where he was in? He was in Johnny Mnemonic. That's where I remember him from.
He has that accident though.
Yeah,
he always has that
that's why he has that accident. He gets his head cut off.
Yeah.
Well, no, it gets cut in half. He gets cut in half.
By the way, you know the woman who plays Finkel's mother?
Oh, she was the librarian from Ghostbusters.
Yes.
Yeah.
She freaks me out, man. I still can't.
Are
she doesn't
you
seem like some old
Janice menstruating?
Dan Marino's in the movie.
Yeah, that was funny.
If it was promoting isotoner gloves, I thought that amused me.
You know, he's just terrible acting. It's funny that he's in it, mind you. But like even like the few lines that he has is just so terrible.
Yeah.
Hey, lady, cannibal corpses in the movie as themselves.
Yeah.
You know, I was
That's one
listening
of my
to it
favorite
again.
scenes.
Dude, that song's pretty good. I was
Yeah.
gotta say, it was a good song.
Yeah. Yeah, the song is what it is, but like that scene when he first walks in the club, he's looking around and like he walks through the crowd, but he's got like this whole like nonchalant, like, you know, like ballroom dancing kind of movement going through. It's so funny.
Yeah.
And Gooch's favorite, Sean Young.
Hey, Sean Young was hot. I mean, obviously in this one she
Dude.
plays
Okay.
a dude.
Hey,
She's
hold on. I
she's
got a
hot
question
in
for you guys.
whatchamacallit, in whatchamacallit,
beautiful.
yeah.
Now, hold on.
And Dune.
Does this movie ruin Sean Young for you in any way?
No. You know what ruined Sean Young? She's nuts. She's a nutter.
Well, she is for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. She
Yeah.
has some drug problems, but
I think that she's got a lot of overacting in this movie. Like, I don't remember it so much in Blade Runner or Dune, and like I can't even remember any other film that she's been in. And I know she's been in a ton. But there's just something about her acting in this movie. She's always like trying to talk through her teeth, and her mouth is always wide. She's like, "Ace, get out of here!" And like just the way she's always talking, she never like opens her mouth fully. She's just always like grinching her teeth, and it annoyed the crap out of me.
did you think that the image that they showed of Ray Finkel was them making a man out of her?
I think it
Or
was
was it a different dude?
Soup's like Photoshop. Honestly,
had to have
what
been,
it looked
'cause
like, it was like it looked like it was a dude, but they put Sean Young's eyes on him.
Yeah, 'cause
Interesting.
even then, I'm like, I don't know how he would get Finkel from just putting dog hair around that dude's face. 'Cause that was a dude.
Because when
That one, a
even when you
porn
look at
star.
the picture, you're like, huh?
Yeah, I'm like,
was like,
this
that
guy's stretching right there trying
There's
to get.
always this.
Yeah.
There's always this thing in this movie because I know that she's a man, or the character's supposed to be a man, even though Sean Young's are really a woman. And every time I rewatch the movie, there's this weirdness about it. And do you guys feel like they dressed her in an unsexy way, like on purpose? Like they put
think
like big clothes on her and like long dresses,
well, I mean,
loose fitting clothing.
she's a lieutenant for the police. You know,
So you thought it was more that her position
I
more
think it's
than
the
them trying
position,
to
yeah.
make her interesting.
Because at this point,
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, her
you
plan was
think they ma-
working. So
So you don't think they made her look more masculine in any way? Do you think they added
well,
any
I think-
prosthetics to the way that she looked, or that was
Maybe not
literally the way she
prosthetics,
looked at the
but
time?
like her blouses had like the shoulder, like
Well,
it looked
yeah.
like she had
That's
extra
like-
big shoulder
it's like
pads
90s
on.
Like from the
stuff
80s?
still. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but like they're like in her case they were extra big.
The only-
You know, I think the idea was to make it look like she had a little more broad shoulders.
the only thing I didn't like on this is like her blouse made her look like she had saggy titties. I don't know if that's what I
But
look
when they
like.
ripped it off, those
Oh no,
looked
and they were
very
nice. They were nice when they were
Their
ripped it
body
off.
looked banging.
But just when she had that blouse on, the shit were like down to her belly button. So I was like, But when they ripped it off, it was hot.
Yeah,
Except
but
for
at
when
the
they turned
end-
around, that's
so-
gross.
You know what?
I gotta ask the question. Like,
Yeah, what's up?
Gooch? What would the dick look like to you? Look good?
No, it looked like she shat her pants. So.
Do I look sexy?
So
It reminded me of Buffalo Bill the second I saw it. Fool. It remi-
One thing that's
Do you
weird
want
for
to fuck me? I'd fuck
is
me.
how often I've seen this movie. I think I've seen this movie more often on TV. So when that scene comes on, it's either A, completely cut to where he just, spins her around and everybody starts puking, or it's like altered in a way to where it looks a little crumbly, like you can't see an actual dick on
Yeah.
TV, right? But like it looks like there's just like something piled in there.
I remember.
And
Go for it.
this is the first time I've seen the movie. Like, I'm not honest. I'm not lying. I'm not joking. This is the first time I saw that movie, and I actually saw the outline of the
mushroom
tip
top?
of the dick
Yeah.
with the vein going down.
Oh, it's disgusting.
Yeah, I remember the first couple times I watched this film it was on TV, and then I think it was in high school when we actually got it on DVD, and we were watching with like my dad and my brother, and we're like, "Oh my god, I'd never seen that part." I'm like, "It's fucking gross." me and my dad, we were all laughing, but I'm like, "Dude, you know what?
really graphic, actually.
That's very, very graphic. Even when because they don't even have to blur it out because all it is like that outlining in a panty, but."
But
Man,
you could tell. You
I'm
can see
glad
the
they
tip.
blurred it out,
You can
dude.
see the vein.
It's very, very
And, like-
disturbing. And the worst part,
Like he's ready to go.
because like in the front, she looks perfectly fine. When you turn around, like,
But that's another thing too. Is like when he rips the skirt off, she's got her legs like together,
Yeah, it's true.
she's
Like
tucking,
Buffalo
like she's
Bill.
got that Buffalo
Yeah,
Bill
Buffalo
tuck
Bill
going.
tits,
You know,
she does,
that big BB tuck
oh man.
hiding Mr. Happy.
Oh god, it's so good. Okay, Deviant Script Doctor. So when I first turned the movie on and I started watching it, I had completely forgotten about the opening HDS guy singing, the UPS, HDS,
Oh, really?
whatever they call it. I forgot that was even in the movie, that's how it started. Were you guys, when you turned it on, did you anticipate that was the first thing that you were going to see?
Oh, yeah.
Was that scene?
I completely remember that because the whole thing where he's got the package and he's just absolutely abusing it. Like that's yeah,
it's hilarious.
That's part of like the visage of Ace Ventura. You know? Like he's a hapless detective.
Yeah, and when he returns the dog and she's like, you know, do you want to take off your pants? And like she's like,
dude, that chick was
like,
unbelievable.
It's hella funny.
She was a Playboy playmate.
Oh my god! Now hold on. Okay, so when this fool holds onto the bar, right? Like now watching it back, you can clearly see his pants weren't down. But I don't know about you guys, but I think this was the first time I actually wondered, like, what was happening, and that I realized people actually did that. I don't think I had quite thought about that ever before that movie.
What do you mean?
You mean oral sex?
Really?
Yes. I don't think so. I mean, we're 12 years old.
This is the first time that you've been exposed to oral sex.
Really?
Is Ace Ventura?
I think maybe it might be, dude.
Wow.
I think it might have been. I remember the first time I saw that, I didn't quite understand what was happening, and then it dawned on me eventually.
Ah.
I mean,
Wow.
God, by this time,
it's a funny.
this time I was knee deep in porn.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure I was not.
I had seen magazines and then a lot of hentai. So
I'm not. I mean, I'm not as much of a deviant as you guys.
yeah, we're pervs though.
Okay.
I mean, I was a perv.
Yeah.
But the scene is hilarious. This fool. Another thing is that this fool said "alrighty then," literally right away in the movie.
Yeah,
like one of the first things he says.
In the first 3 minutes, he does all his taglines from this movie.
Yeah.
It's
he
great.
just repeats, like he does the already then he does the who is the her, and there's one other tagline that he has.
He has a bunch in this movie. We'll get to him.
And they're all.
Do you guys remember hearing that term, that phrase, "alrighty then," before this movie? Do you think this movie started that? Because people say it a lot now, and they said it more back then than they do now.
I don't know.
People must have said it, but he made it like culturally acceptable.
He popularized it?
And yeah, he popularized it. Like
I think if it was used,
freaking saying it, dude.
Yeah,
So
I think
that
if it was
smoking
used,
thing.
it was more casual.
Yeah.
You know, like already then.
Yeah.
But now he like
Lucha
completely
likes
blew
dick.
it out.
Already then.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Now I say, oh, already then. And you know, the funny thing is, I wonder if like people that were born, before, I mean, after this film, right? And like, if you do that to someone, like, alrighty then, I wonder if they actually know where that's from.
I don't think they do.
Right,
I think that's why it's not said as much anymore.
Yeah. So what's smoking? That thing was huge too. That thing from The Mask.
Yeah. So Devo mentioned this before about Ace Ventura being a hapless detective. Do you think that he's a good detective? Is he capable, or is he just a lucky fool?
I don't know. He knew what he figured out where to like search for clues in the in the filter of the pool. I mean, that's good detective work right there. I mean,
and even Courtney made a comment. She's like, "Oh, you're so good. You should have worked on the force." He's like, "I don't do humans."
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that was right after he did that thing in the apartment where he like showed his deduction skills, and well, they do have the sex.
No, that's after.
But you know, in the apartment when they're going, when Roger, look what you made me do, jumped off the
and
building.
even that right there, you know, like because he found the blood spot that all those cops missed, and then he determined, you know, he was able to put 2 and 2 together and realize that, you know, the door was double pane window and he couldn't hear through it. So I mean, I think the clues in there, especially in this movie, make it seem that he's a good detective. And then when you go to Ace Ventura: When Nature Calls, it's just whacked out comedy.
Yeah. I mean,
but he does prove in this movie and in some other movies that he is like able to like physically overcome some severe odds. You know, like he can beat people up. You know, he's not going to.
He can
never
survive
gets hit.
a shark attack.
Yeah, exactly.
He can catch a bullet in his teeth.
Yeah.
He's magical.
So what's the verdict? Is he a good detective?
I think he's a good detective. I mean, obviously it's a good comedic way, but I think
I'm going to lay this out there. This is probably the most blasphemous thing that can come out of my mouth. Ace Ventura is a superhero and a better detective than Batman.
I agree.
Batman's got to wear Kevlar.
Yeah.
Ace Ventura just catches bullets with his teeth.
That's
He
right.
does.
That's
he
right.
actually does.
How many times have you seen
And he
Batman
can
get a
speak
blowjob?
animals, dude.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
Can Batman do that? No, and he's named after an animal.
Yep. And dude, that fool would He must have like dog smell too, because he was like smelling stuff in the food and all that stuff. He was like, there's a thing here. I'm like, what the hell?
And he's funnier.
Oh, he is funnier than Batman.
He is funnier than Batman.
Maybe not Michael Keaton. Michael Keaton's pretty funny. Nah, he's funnier than Michael Keaton.
You want to get
Now,
nuts?
hold on.
Come on, let's
Remember
get
that-
nuts.
Let's get nuts. I love that scene. The scene where you were mentioning Devo before about how he's talking to her, he's talking to Courtney Cox like with the files, and he yells at her, "Ah," whatever, right? And she's like, and then he scares her, but she's still feeling him. Now, that look that she gives him before he does the scaring thing as they're talking,
The bedroom eyes.
yeah. How do women act that out? Like, how do they do that on
acting
command like
wrong.
that?
They're acting.
They're not acting. He hit it.
Courtney Cox is an actor.
Yeah, she's
A
an
thespian.
actor. Yeah, exactly. I don't know.
She knew
dude.
it. She
They're
was able to
acting.
just she was able to just drop it.
But
Give
that-
those
a lot of
those
women do that
bedroom
scene-
browns.
They do that look in the movies. You know, like when you see it in a movie, like you know. It's weird to me that they all can do it. I don't get it.
But like even like this even sounds kind of weird. But even like Jim Carrey gave a very soft and emotional look to her as
Yeah.
well. Like now that's something I don't think I've seen him do in any of his serious roles or anything. Like even when he's in Eternal Spotlight or whatever, where he's supposed to be like very emotionally connected to Kate Winslet, like I felt there was an honest to God connection between he and Courtney Cox, and maybe they had some sort of camaraderie, that we don't know about on set, but they worked together, and like I looked at them and I made this comment to Kat, like I looked at them, I was like, those two look like a better couple than Jim Carrey and Jenny McCarthy.
Well, I would
I
say
know
they
that
look
has
like a
nothing
better
to do with
couple than
anything,
Courtney
but-
Cox and whatever his face.
Dave Arquette?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I just still find it funny. Now, when they revealed that Einhorn was a man,
Finkel and Einhorn Finkel.
Finkel is
I know.
Einhorn.
Einhorn
Einhorn's a man.
Finkel. Einhorn's
God.
the man.
Are they playing Culture Club? Do you guys know what song that was? I couldn't figure out what song that was.
but
they played it multiple times. Every time that came up, they played that same song. It was like
I
the
don't
theme.
know. I want to like. I'm not going to go back and watch it, but I kind of wonder if that's the same song that was played during the Crying Game.
It might
God.
be.
Because in that at the end of that scene, he does the whole Crying Game shower scene.
Exactly.
Yeah, he
You know?
does.
Yeah.
Where he just crawls in the shower, kneels down, and cries. Right. So I wonder if that song was played in the Crying Game.
Yeah, this has to be homage to it.
Oh,
There's
no
no way
doubt.
that they did. That's not homage.
No
to it.
doubt. No doubt.
And that's funny because there's a couple times in the movie where Ace Ventura himself foreshadows that turn. He, when first of all, he says like
Your
holy testicle
pistol's
Tuesday.
poking me.
Yeah, the gun is digging into my hip. He says holy testicle Tuesday.
Yeah.
Right, I caught that
Yeah.
one. And so there's a couple, and it's funny because he calls back to that gun is digging into my hip one.
Yeah. That was funny. I like
Yeah.
that. That was just a small little.
When he's in
It
the
was
car,
funny.
when he's in the car chewing the gum with the gum, he's
Gun is digging into my hip.
Or like at the end when he's
chewing
driving Dan
gum.
Marino back to the game, and Dan's
Yeah.
like, "Hey Ace, you got any more of that gum?" He's like, "That's a personal question."
Yeah, exactly.
Get out of
He's
my,
upset
stay out of my
about it.
business, Dan.
Yeah, take out of my damn business. Yeah. So when Einhorn or Finkel, like at the end, I'm wondering. So she just bribed some Italian gangsters to keep him out of prison to do her bidding. I guess, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you got to have henchmen. You got to get henchmen somewhere. Where
I thought it
does
was
the penguin get
hilarious.
his henchmen?
Yeah, exactly. Because the Italian gangsters were like, "Hey, Danny boy, huh? Hey, Danny boy, huh?" I thought it was great.
Hey, Marino.
Hey, Marino, huh? Get out of here, huh? Forget about it. What
He's
was
a
my-
fugazi.
Capiche? One of the other funny
Oh, by
things.
the way,
Yeah,
I
go
am
ahead.
2% Italian again.
I know. It's a glorious day for you. You can only go up from here. I thought it was hilarious that this fool actually gave Sean Young a noogie in the movie.
Oh, yeah, when he gets her in the headlock.
Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't thought about a noogie in a really long time. I also thought it was great that he did, like, Ace Ventura does this thing where he's like, and then he like spits out all this information until he can't breathe anymore. It's greatness. And like you mentioned before, Devo, he's like, that must be the worst case of hemorrhoids I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And then they play that song again. Everyone started trying to wash their mouth out. I don't know. It doesn't, to me, I find it amusing, but it's aged poorly.
Yeah.
Yeah, nowadays that wouldn't fly.
Yeah.
What was your favorite scene in this movie?
Fuck.
Man, that's
Fuck, that's hard, man.
Yeah.
You said yours was the bar scene with the Cannibal Corpse?
No, I mean that was one part, but I think my favorite scene is when fuck, I just had it on the tip of my tongue. God damn it! I think I like
when he goes to the banquet the most.
Oh, that one scene when they're walking through and like they're playing the song and he just grabs the celloist's arm and goes,
I love it.
Cranks him out.
I love all that stuff.
man.
Fuck, I was just thinking about what was my favorite scene.
You know what? It's
Dead silence.
I think my favorite scene is when Ace Ventura goes into the police station at first, and the
guys are heckling him.
They're heckling him, and then the cop stomps the cockroaches. He's like, "Yo, Ace, it's a murder. How are you gonna do? You gonna solve it now?" He's all, "Well, I think it was a case of."
He's like, I got to determine the motive. The assailant saw the size of the insect's penis and got insanely jealous. Yeah.
I think he says dick, actually.
Yeah. No, he does say dick, yeah.
And then he got tired of him porking his wife.
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
And that's my favorite.
And then he gets that dude, like, he like brings him down like face to face to the cockroach.
Yeah.
And like, I thought he was going to make him like lick it or something.
That was awesome.
See, he does have physical ability. He can physically overpower someone. He can't fight.
Yeah.
Oh man.
He beat up the eagle at the end of the movie too.
And that's a good one.
So my favorite scene is when he and Courtney Cox first go to the mental institution, and she's like, "Oh yeah, I'm here for my brother," and he's like, "Put me in, coach." And then he does the whole play thing, and then he's like, "Let's see that." And an instant replay, and he does the entire thing backwards. That was amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, it's just so ridiculous. Some of the stuff we just talked about, but is that really him driving with his head out the window? I think it was, because there's a couple scenes where like there's a shot and he comes blazing around the corner and then parks and his head's out the window and he gets out and he opens up the door, walks out, closes it, and it's him. He must have done that. Yeah, there's no cut.
I think so. Nothing too crazy.
Why the fuck does the media care about the dolphin so much?
Well, I mean, it's like local media, you know, and it's. I mean, they're at home.
But they're like upset that they can't see the dolphin.
It's like,
well, I mean,
like,
it's Super Bowl weekend.
What about the players?
But think about Super Bowl weekend. Like, they got stupid things like the Puppy Bowl, right? So, like, imagine they're doing the Puppy Bowl, and like the Puppy Bowl people are like, "Oh, we can't see the puppies." Like, they're gonna lose their shit. And like the Super Bowl was in
Miami, right?
Miami, and the whole thing was like, we got to have them Dolphins mascot doing his thing. So. One thing that was so ridiculous to me is when the reason why Ace is at the Cannibal Corpse concert, because he's going to go see his hacker friend, and his friend's like, "Hey Ace, look at this. Here's a bunch of whaling boats. I'm just going to send some new directional navigation coordinates, and they're going to not find any whales for a mile." It's like, that was so stupid. And then like he's like, "Hey, can you do a quick search to see if anybody's gotten any like really large like fishing tanks or anything?" He's like, "Okay, sure. That's easy, Ace." Boop, boop, boop. Oh, look at this. And it cuts to like this weird like Mac OS X 9 interface, and like these full page newspaper articles are like fading in and then fading out. Like there's nothing that bugs me more than when movies create their own fake operating systems.
Yeah.
And like, I can understand it maybe in the 80s and the early 90s. I'll let that shit slide. But nowadays, like, just like make a partnership with Apple, make a partnership with Windows, just use that goddamn OS, or use like Linux or something, or have somebody like typing something in Unix. But when they got this crazy, like all these stupid OS interfaces that you see in like the Marvel Avenger movies and all that stuff, it just drives me wild. Not in a good way, not in a Sean Young way.
I mean, this movie is a comedy, so part of its purpose is to be ridiculous. So I'm not gonna, obviously you can't be too rigid on this. I mean, there's like scenes where like, remember when he's trying to be sneaky with the Mission Impossible music, and it's like absolutely like ridiculous.
Yeah.
And it's a very Hot Shots Part 2-ish, honestly. And then he like slams the door closed and stuff, that type of stuff. Obviously, Devo mentioned that when he pulls the celloist arms while they're playing like Mozart or something was just greatness. There's a scene that I love in that one scene where he goes to the banquet and he's talking to Udo Kier and they get separated and they're looking at each other across the room, and he picks up an appetizer and touches and like puts it in his mouth and like spits it out, and Udo Kier sees it and is like offended by it. I just thought that
he doesn't even put it in his mouth. He touches it with the tip of his tongue. He's like, and then he puts it back on the tray.
It's so great. It's so great. You know the scene where the shark comes out and his face, where he's like screaming and his face is like going all over the place? Everyone tried to do that. Everyone tried to do that back in the day.
Oh yeah.
People used to imitate all this stuff like crazy, obviously. So that's one of the ones. One of the things I thought was great was when he was trying to arm wrestle one of the guys to get the ring, and the guy just arm wrestles him and just tosses him.
or when he's following the dude on the track and like he's catching up to the guy and the guy's nuh-uh, and he just like puts on like full blast.
Yeah, that's funny.
And then he finally catches up to him, but he's got to like knock him down with chloroform.
Yeah, he like exactly tackles him.
You know what I thought?
There's another guy that he goes to punch him in the face.
He punches him in the face. Yeah. When he catches the bullet in his mouth, I don't know if that was necessary, to be honest with you, for the film.
Yeah, because like
it just doesn't fit.
Kind of up to that point, like everything that's happening, you're like, okay, like that it's plausible, right? Like he could figure out what's happening here. You figure, but like, you know, like even like, you know, taking a punch to the head from an NFL player, like
it hurt.
The shark thing is not realistic.
Well,
though,
obviously,
if he was getting
I mean that's a little
shark,
ridiculous, but
hospital.
but that's almost like I saw that as like a fantasy sort of thing, you know, like the arm wrestling thing, and he gets like tossed, like that's kind of like a fantasy sort of thing, but like. Catching a bullet in the mouth, like that's just like, all right, now you're just like you're telling us we're stupid.
Yeah, you're just trolling us. Yeah, so that's my everything else, like Devo said, like even the shark thing. I mean, he talks to animals and stuff. Maybe he somehow talked the shark from not biting him in half. I don't know, but the whole thing with what the hell is catching your bullet in your mouth have to do with anything with animals?
Do you guys think that the gay guy in the restroom scene would fly nowadays?
I think if it was just them looking at each other and then he looks over and smiles, you could probably get away with it. But when Ace walks away and the guy like is running after him, and he's all like, he prancy fancy and his hands roll up in the air, like that's like all right, that means like that like, you know, we go in like the whole like everybody thinks that transgender is gross and duplicitous and stuff. I think that implies that, you know, homosexuals are, you know, fruity and fairy and what have you.
That whole
totally from the movie, not my thoughts. Totally from the movie. That's what Ace Ventura thought.
Well, you meant that they were effeminate,
dude. That whole thing
most people thought you guys were effeminate
was
exactly what
was
I meant.
about. You know, a joke on how what truckers and people would like in public restrooms would just meet and like, you know, they're supposed to have like gay sex in the public restroom. It was like
it was one of the thoughts.
It was one of the thoughts. Yeah, exactly.
Just like in Dumb and Dumber with Seabass.
Exactly.
Who, by the way, is played by Cam Neely, a Hall of Fame Boston Bruin from the NHL.
Well, still hilarious though.
Well, there you go. See, it's that whole like stigma again.
Why is Jim Carrey playing multiple roles where he's being sexually assaulted in a bathroom?
Well, technically, he didn't assault. He did the assaulting in this one because he actually looked down at the guy's, you know, junk, you know, and the guy just took it.
And Seabass grabbed him by the head and forced him down.
Well, that's the difference.
Technically, it wasn't sexual assault. He liked it, just for the record.
True. Hey, so we don't know now, man. I'm just saying. I'm taking on the safe side at this point.
Yeah, it's true. Jim Carrey was the lead actor in the role, so he might have made him feel uncomfortable on set. Okay, there's like two logistical things that I do have a problem with. So they made it seem like every football player is just wearing his ring at all times.
Yeah, I thought the same thing.
Yes. No, okay, not just a ring, but an AFC Championship ring. Which it wasn't even a Super Bowl ring.
Did they even make AFC Championship rings? I don't think they do.
I don't know.
I think it's a trophy.
Yeah.
They make Super Bowl rings. I don't think they AFC Championship rings.
Yeah, and like even still, like why would every guy wear a ring that shows that he lost the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
They wouldn't. Okay, the other one is that at the end when you know, everyone thinks that Ace Ventura is like the bad guy, and he calls Tone Loc, and Tone Loc just like 100%. Not only does he believe him, but he's willing to go into Einhorn's office and like spy on her and potentially
That
like
was
lose his
ballsy,
job.
dude.
Lose his
That
job.
was ballsy. Yeah.
I guess them they're boys, dude.
They must be boys.
Because like
this fool was just talking through his ass to his face.
even when
the day before,
dude.
But he put up with it, you know.
Even when
apparently.
you know, they when Einhorn called up for backup at the very end, and like Tone Loc heard it through his earpiece, and like he tells Courtney Cox's character, he's like, "Oh, we got to go." And
Yeah,
Courtney
it's Ace.
Cox was like, "Oh, are you sure he's gonna be okay?" He was like, "Don't worry about it. Don't worry, Ace can figure it out." And he had no problem with Ace, like not able to handle himself.
Yeah.
So he knows about him. Yeah,
Convenient.
yeah.
Okay.
Plot holes.
The Kim Coppola worst. I feel like there should be a better name for this. It should be like the Kim Coppola despicable thespian ward or something like that.
Yeah, we'll work on the full title.
The full title.
in
but it's
honor
the
of
Kim
Kim.
Coppola worst acting award. Now, I have some. I'm going to throw out some nominees. You guys throw out some.
All
more.
right.
I
Sean
already
Young.
have my choice, so.
Sean Young, Tone Loc, Courtney Cox, and Dan Marino.
Okay.
Who's yours?
Do you have any others? Is your guy on the
Who's
list?
yours, Gooch?
Dan Marino is mine.
Mine's on the list.
Mine's on the list. I mean, the rest of them.
Mine is
Who's yours, Diva?
for me,
There's Sean Young?
Sean Young, 100%. Yeah.
Because she is supposed to be a good
100%.
actress, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Dan Marino's
decent-
just a sports guy. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, like he's not gonna know any better. And Tone Loc, like,
Yeah, he's a rapper.
Tone Loc was perfect.
Yeah,
like
I
he was
thought-
boys with Ace, and like he, you know, if somebody's talking to you out of their asshole, like he responded like how I would respond,
Yeah.
you know. And he's like, dude, I gotta do my job. Get out of here. You're gonna get me in trouble,
Yeah.
you know. Like Tone Loc was fine.
Yeah.
It was Sean Young overacting,
Yeah, it was terrible.
talking through her teeth. Maybe like I don't know if she was like trying to portray like some dude that was trying to be effeminate or something like that, but like she just went way over the top. Was not a replicant. You know, it just didn't fly with me.
you're right,
You know,
yeah.
she was gorgeous in the movie.
She
That's
was,
about it.
man.
But yeah.
Okay, hold on. Is she hotter than Courtney Cox in that movie? Who's hotter?
Oh, I think hands down. I think I've always liked Sean
Courtney.
Young. No, you like Courtney more. I've always liked Sean Young. Like
Yeah.
I mean, not now, mind you. I think Courtney Cox now is way hotter than Sean Young, mind you.
No, because both of them have had work done nowadays,
But,
and they both are
dude,
like just pale, like
doesn't-
empty vessels
Doesn't
of what
matter.
they
It looks like
They're
Sean
zombies.
Young like is retaining water. She's like, so. No, but I've always thought Sean Young was prettier when they were younger. I think Courtney Cox like her beauty lasted a little bit longer. Would be so shallow. But
Fair enough.
So Sean Young gets the award. I don't really have a strong.
Well, I don't know,
opinion
Devo,
either
what did
way,
you
so
say?
I'm fine. Devo's
I said
very
Sean.
strong.
Sean, yeah,
so
yeah,
let's
yeah.
give it to
Yeah.
Sean. So Sean Young, congratulations, you've earned it. The Kim Coppola Terrible Acting Award.
Pretty face, terrible acting.
Okay. Okay, now let's talk about some deviantly repeatable quotes. And I think this movie, like obviously, like we mentioned with The Running Man, this movie is chock full of them. I wanted to say a couple, and then I'll let you guys say a couple. And if you guys have some other, if you guys don't catch some of the ones I had, then we'll go over it. The first one I just want to say is, like a glove. It's just my favorite.
Not from this movie.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
That's from Ace Ventura: When Nature Calls.
Nope, that is in this movie when he is driving to the
when he
to
slides
the
his car
stadium,
into the stadium. Yeah, that's true.
he goes like a glove. It's in Ace Ventura When Nature Calls when he goes like a glove.
Yeah.
It's like a play on the previous one. Yeah, if you go back and
That's
watch
weird.
it.
I did not remember that at all. In
Yeah,
this
he does.
movie.
And then-
It's when he like spins around his car and he does all these.
Yeah.
and he puts it into the.
Although it's funny because
Okay.
he doesn't actually park in a spot in that one. He
Yeah.
just parks like in a
Yeah.
red zone.
Yeah, he's.
He literally parks in a red zone.
So, like when he and Courtney Cox are having sex, they
Yeah.
play "In the Jungle." In the
wee
jungle,
moet, a wee
the-
moet.
yeah. They play that song in When Nature Calls when the gorilla is going to town on that dude.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
So I love how they connect, like like a glove and
man.
that song in both of those movies.
Oh yeah. The other one that I want to say before I let you guys go get after it is it's just a great one. It's just a great one. Do you guys
For
have
me,
any other ones?
it's not a line, but it's a scene when he first hops into the tank for a snowflake, and he pulls out his glasses. He's like, Captain's log, and he does this whole
That monologue.
William Shatner routine, and then
greatness.
Courtney Cox and the dude from Fear and Loathing are just like looking at each other like, fuck, what did we do?
I think
And,
she's
like,
laughing. He's exasperated. She's laughing.
she's like, oh, that's sexy right there. No, but like that whole thing is like, and then like even when he goes to the drain and they're like Ace, come on. He's like, I just can't, Captain. I don't have the power. And like Ace, the media's here. He's like, damn it, Jim, I'm a doctor, not a pool man. And like the whole Star Trek, that I love that.
It's greatness. Gooch, do you have any favorite ones?
Like lines, yeah. I don't think I've ever quoted them, mind you. Everything except for like really, type thing. But I did like that. I totally forgot about that interaction between him and that cop. I obviously, I think that was the most funny thing ever. I think that was
where he's like, oh, the size of the bug's dick, and then that blue spinning comes fucking his wife. Yeah. It's hilarious.
Just read that. You should listen to that line. It's just really, really good.
One thing that I used to use a lot. So like when I started watching this movie, I forgot how much it influenced my entire high school years in like the terms that I like, or like in the way I delivered comedy. Like I used so many lines from this movie to like try and make people laugh. Like even when he's in the banquet. And he's talking to the dude about how like he's I forgot what he was like. He said he was like a lawyer and he does like food poisoning.
No, yeah, that's a great line.
Or whatever.
Yeah, that's really.
He was
good.
like Tom.
And like he's eating the food.
Tom Ace was his character.
Yeah,
was his name.
But he's like, where's your bathroom? And the guy, then Udo Kier's like, oh, it's over there. He's like, okay, good. I have to go. I think it's the pate. Like I would use that shit when I was at school. I was like, I need something. I gotta go take a shit. I'm like, I gotta go. I think it's the pate.
It probably looks better coming out.
I loved it when he finally comes out after the shark attack, and he's like, "Do not, go in there,
go in there."
Woo!
But the whole the what makes that scene so awesome is when he opens up his jacket pocket and he hits his shirt pocket and all that water shoots out. There's this old dude standing behind him that completely ducks it. He like goes out of the way to avoid the water. It's hilarious.
There's like a scene where he first meets Courtney Cox, I believe, and he goes into her office and he's like chewing these sunflower seeds, and she's like looking at him as he's putting
because he's chewing them all up, and like he's not even like have the whole shell. He's like crumbles of the shell, and he's just leaving them right on her desk.
And she goes, "Do you want an
ashtray?
An ashtray?"
He's like, "I don't smoke. It's a disgusting."
Yeah, he's like,
habit.
"No thanks, I don't smoke." Yeah, or like I like in the same scene when he's watching Snowflake and like Snowflake's doing the thing, and then Snowflake like hits the field goal, and he looks back, he's like, "Oh," and he's like nodding up and down like an approval. It's
so funny.
The couple other ones I love was when he's like, your number's still 911. Alrighty then. It's greatness. And then the other one is he goes, what's the password? He's like New England clam chowder. He's like, the red or the white? He's like, damn, I can never remember that.
Yeah,
I love that.
Or like when we first see what's her name, Sean Young, and like the first thing he says to her, he calls her Satan.
Yes.
He's like, what are you doing here? Oh, I turned myself in. I was the second shooter in the grassy knoll.
He literally berates her with insults the whole movie.
Yeah.
One of the other ones I wanted to point out to you, Devo, that you would probably get a kick out of if you didn't remember it, was that. So they have the scene where he's a woman wet, and he's tapping Courtney, and she says like, oh my God, 3 times. Wow, it's been 3 times. He's like, yeah, I'm sorry, that never happened to me before. I must be tired. And then he like waits a second. He's like, okay, I'm ready again.
Good to go though. Yeah.
And he goes, but when he says I'm sorry, he sounds exactly like a Canadian.
So Canadian. He sounds like Dan Aykroyd in Ghostbusters. Oh, Venkman, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
It was hilarious to me. I thought of you when that happened. Okay. So they had talked about, in 2017, there was talk that they were going to make another Ace Ventura movie, but it wouldn't be like a remake. It would be like a sequel, but more along the lines of, like, it's interesting that you mentioned this earlier, Devo, Ghostbusters, how they sort of had the old guys in the movie to an extent, but they sort of handed it off to like a younger group. And there was talk that they would be handing it off to like Ace and Courtney's son or something like that, Ace's son or daughter. And then I don't know if it's going to happen or not, but what do you guys think about that? Do you guys think that he should just make another one of these? Or I know there was a cartoon as well.
There was a cartoon, but I was doing a Google search on something. I forgot what I was looking at. And I saw a picture of a little like a I don't know, maybe like a 12-year-old kid dressed up as Ace Ventura, and it was called Ace Ventura Jr.
Yeah.
Like, did they actually start shooting that?
Isn't that like a made-for-TV movie or something?
Interesting.
So that's got to be real then, right?
2009.
Looking
That's
it
what
up.
it is. Yeah, right, I already saw it. Oh my god, it looks so terrible.
And like he's
Oh, no, I
dressed
do
up
remember
just
this.
like Ace. He's got the hair.
Yeah.
I remember
like,
this. Yeah.
So
Ace Ventura
did
Jr.,
they
yeah.
actually go move forward with that?
No, that movie came out. It was a Cartoon Network
Yeah.
movie.
It says here.
It's an hour and a half
So-
long movie, but I don't think that
So dumb.
It says here.
it didn't involve Jim Carrey
No.
or Steve Odekirk,
No.
who wrote it.
The son of eccentric detective steps into his father's
yeah.
shoes after his mother is wrongly arrested for stealing a baby panda.
Yeah.
There you
So
go.
I think that they were trying to like remake it in some newer, better way in 2017.
Is that my Steve Odekirk from Kung Pao?
I think that's
That's
I don't know if
Steve
the same
Odekirk. It's
guy.
the same guy.
Yeah, that's my
It's the
boy
same
right
guy,
there.
yeah.
Yes, it is.
Fucking love that movie.
Do you guys think that they should just leave this one alone, or do you think that something should happen with
Well,
this franchise?
The problem is
If they do-
go ahead, Devo.
I was gonna say if they do, like you can't. This is a Jim Carrey character. I loved Ace Ventura: When Nature Calls, and I love both movies. They both, I think, stand on their own.
Which one do you think is better?
The first one. I think the first one is definitely better because, it's. I think the second one was just pushing too hard to be too funny, and there's a lot of like obvious, blatant jokes in that one. This one's more like there's a little more subtlety to some of the stuff, but
I'm not sure. There's
definitely.
I'm not sure there's a scene in this movie that's funnier than the Tommy Davidson scene in the second movie, though. That one really
I'll give you
stands
that.
out.
I'll
but
give
go
you
ahead.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't think this is the kind of role that you can put anybody else in. I think this is like, you look at Ace Ventura, that's Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
And I don't think you could do an Ace Ventura without Jim Carrey, unless you like completely rewrite the character and make him like, I don't know, like a hard ass or something like that, and you put Channing Tatum in the role. But yeah, this
Do you
is
think
this
that there
Ace
is a
Ventura.
living actor that could do it?
I mean, I'm sure there is. I'm
Yeah.
sure there's some actors
Ryan
out there
Reynolds?
like, I don't know, like I don't know, maybe Theo Vaughn or something like that. You know, like just
Oh.
grease up his hair because he's kind of like
A goofy dude like
he's,
that. Yeah.
he's goofy. He says stupid shit all the time. I love it. But
there you go.
the
You
thing
called
that's
it.
but the thing that's special about Jim Carrey is
Yeah.
Jim Carrey is a very physical actor, and there aren't, to my knowledge, there aren't a lot of physical comedians out there right now. Like going back to Theo Vaughn, like he's hilarious and he can say and deliver the lines, but a lot of the stuff that Jim does, it's physical. You mentioned like when he's about to get attacked by the shark, he like his face, he does all like the weird stuff with his face. I don't think there's a lot of people that could do something as weird like that, because my understanding is that Jim practiced a lot of that stuff. So it's tough to, like, you put somebody in there to deliver the lines, but they have that same physicality. It's going to be tough, man.
What I think is that I just don't think this type of comedy would even fly in this day and age. I haven't seen anything like this in such a long time. This type of comedy is, I think, a relic of the 90s. And I don't know if it will be...
80s had this too, though.
Well, 80s,
had some stuff,
80s
yeah.
and 90s. It was a silly...
The physical comedy.
Physical, semi-raunchy comedy type thing, And I don't know if it can be replicated now. I don't think it can. I think...
I'm not even sure it's marketable.
Exactly. I don't even think it's marketable. So my theory is that I'm sure there's someone that's funny out there that can be physical and funny. The problem is I don't know if this movie could fly in this day and age. And they would have to make it PG. It's even worse. What are you gonna do?
Like the kind of comedy you hear in this movie would probably work as a podcast or like an audio drama or something. But like you try to put this in the theater again, like in front of everybody, it's.
I would see this on College Humor. They'd be on that.
Yeah.
But
like a lot of very sensitive people nowadays,
Yeah.
and I don't know.
I don't know. I don't think it would
It makes
fly.
me sound like an asshole. I feel like an asshole saying it like that,
But
but
it's true.
It's just
it's true.
it is what it
It
is.
is what it is. I don't know if it'll fly.
All right. Okay. So to finish off, what's your guys' recommendation for Ace Ventura: Pet Detective? How deviant worthy is it?
For me, I think there's better comedies out there from the 90s. So
if someone's never seen a Jim Carrey movie, would this be? Would you recommend this one first?
Honestly, I would tell him to go watch.
Yep.
I would tell him. I would tell him to go watch In Living Color. So you understand
a movie.
It's just Jim Carrey itself. I mean, you throw him straight into Ventura. You need to know where. Like, honestly, I think the stuff he did on In Living Color is a lot funnier than this. But I mean, the character of Ace Ventura is kind of like one of the guys that's on there. It was like this gay dude that he portrayed on In Living Color. It was the same mannerisms and whatnot.
Venus de Milo?
No. That was the.
Oh well, that's the workout guy.
The workout guy. No, it was some other gay dude. He was like as effeminate.
He did do
guy.
the mouth thing with that guy though. That's where he probably got it from.
But
the horse thing.
I would tell them to go watch that. But if they want to watch, I would say Liar Liar first. I think it's funnier than this movie, but. I would tell him to start with Liar Liar. I think
Bruce Almighty's a pretty good movie too.
Which one?
Bruce Almighty.
Oh, Bruce Almighty. Yeah, I mean Bruce Almighty, but
it's a more modern, comedic style.
But if you want a 90s feel, I would say Liar Liar to start off. So, I give this one 6.5. I was 7 up there. So I would say 6.5 for me. It's funny. It's dated. I didn't find myself laughing as much as I thought, when I was a kid when I was laughing, maybe because I knew the jokes were already there. But like, I've watched some movies over and over again and I'll laugh at those jokes every single time. And this one, I guess, wasn't one of them.
And like for me, like I hadn't seen this movie in a long time. So like I was laughing enough to where I was snorting, like, cause
really,
I'm so shocked.
Yeah. Cause like, again, watching this movie made me think back a lot to where, like I used to say a lot of these lines in high school. So like this movie had a very deep impact on me. But again, so did Dumb and Dumber. And, you go back to say, if you had to recommend a Jim Carrey movie to anybody, for me, I honestly think it would be Dumb and Dumber. I think that is like maybe not the pinnacle of Jim Carrey humor, but like for me, that's the one where like, that's like, the whole movie from like start to finish is just hilarious. And Ace Ventura, there are moments in there where it's just like, all right, this is going on, that's happening. There's a ton of funny parts in here, but like, it's definitely not the pinnacle of Jim Carrey hilarity.
What's the number?
I'd give it an 8.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, I love the movie. The acting is great. Even though I give Sean Young the Kim Coppola, like she did her part, like she was supposed to be like this weird conflicted sort of human being. And there's definitely some sort of gray area and tension in the character. Tone Loc was great. Courtney Cox, beautiful. She was just like played the best friend. Yeah. I mean, the movie works for me. I love it.
I think it's a classic, especially if you are of a certain age. It's one of those movies that's like, it's just of a time. It really is of a time. It obviously is dated in a lot of ways. I think it can be a little abrasive for younger folks. So I definitely think that like PG-13 is like should be like a hard cap. Especially the transgender stuff. Like a younger person might not quite understand that. They could be influenced by the movie to think a particular way about a group of people. I think it could be over the top by today's standards. The comedy. I think comedies nowadays have a little bit more of a realistic nature to it, where they're not so unrealistic like the bullet in the teeth catching type of stuff. You see some comedies that have that stuff, but overwhelmingly I don't think they do. Especially considering like romantic comedies are like very popular. There's some like truly romantic aspect to many comedies, and this one there is romance in it, but it's not like truly romantic in a lot of ways, because they're still sort of there's still
it's
sort
like
of
a lot
making
of flirting, and
then
then they have sex.
Exactly. There's sort of like this tongue-in-cheek aspect to like true love type of thing. But I think I would recommend it. I don't think it's Jim Carrey's best work. I still think that's Dumb and Dumber. And I think it would have it like maybe a top 5 Jim Carrey movie. But yeah, I'm not even sure. I don't even know if I might even like the second one better than this one. I'd have to watch it again. But overall, I give it like a 7. I think it's a pretty good movie. It was funny. I laughed. Not
No,
like Gooch said, not as much as I remember laughing when I was a kid, but it wasn't like, oh, this isn't funny
I think I
anymore.
found
It was still funny.
I found myself laughing at like the jokes that I probably didn't understand when I was younger. I
like
think that's like all the
Bugs Dick.
all the
Yeah.
goofy stuff, all the goofy stuff. Probably, I was like, it's funny. It's not that funny, but it's funny.
Yeah. Well, there you have it. That is Ace Ventura: Pet Detective. We will be
Dick.
we'll be back next week with another fantastic film. Until then, Deviants, we will see you later.
See ya.
Adios.